Hello, welcome back to another video at the workshop. Here we are at a 2017 Hyundai iLoad, and it's got the CRD engine in it. This is a very common problem with all of these cars. It's got a leaking intake manifold gasket. I don't know if you can see down there, but there's a fair bit of an oil leak here. Basically what's happening is the positive crankcase ventilation right here is forcing air pressure out into the intake, which is going into the turbo. Turbo's pumping engine oil back through the intercooler, and it's blowing it out the intake manifold gasket where it meets the head on the side of the car. So we're losing boost pressure. It's got a bit of a rough idle, so we're going to rip in and change this intake manifold gasket.
That positive pressure in the crankcase comes from blow-by gases that escape past the piston rings into the crank. This PCV system vents the gases, but it also pulls along oil vapor with them, which can build up and clog the intake system. This is usually why people would fit an oil catch can.
Yeah. So they've got a tamper-proof cover on the hose clamp here to get the boost hose off. Why they have that there, I have no idea. Perhaps you can let me know in the comments. First of all, we'll take off this intake charge pipe. Just seeing there how much oil's inside the intake. Turbo's putting a fair bit back into the engine, and hence why a lot of it is making its way out.
While we're familiar with these engines mechanically, you've probably noticed that we work on a lot of different cars pretty frequently at the workshop. So it's been a little while since we've done this particular job. So essentially what we're doing here is just removing the electrical connectors that are holding the throttle body on. Then we'll get into removing the throttle body to give us a bit more room to access the bolts that hold the intake manifold to the head.
Lines off from down the back here.
You can hold the torch, huh? We don't have to. I'm going to leave them on.
Yes, we don't want to have to take them off if we don't have to.
It might make it more room, but
it's always a trade-off between how much stuff you take off to make yourself more room and how much longer it takes to get it on. Sometimes you don't know what's going to be better.
Well, we'll leave it there for now. If it gets annoying,
we've opted for leaving it on. Let's see how that serves us.
We'll see.
I was lucky enough to get an intake manifold.
You sort of got to when you take it off and you see it full of shit.
Yes, this will be very interesting, dear viewers. I have a 2016 Mitsubishi Triton, which I've been wanting to get an intake manifold for a long time, which is maybe an idea for another video, but it is quite an involved process, so I've been told. So we're currently holding out on doing that, but this might spur us into action, considering how dirty this one will be. This has got 299,000 at the next service in 2025. So I'd be interested to see how much carbon's built up in the intake as well. Gets the throttle body off. Doesn't actually look too bad from what I can see from this angle.
Yeah, wait. It'll change.
Yes, I'm sure it will. Trying to get you people a view in there. Oh yeah, it's not great actually. This is the inlet of the cooled exhaust gas recirculation, or EGR gases, when they come back in, and you can see a nice deposit on the other side where this flows into the intake stream from the turbo. we take the EGR pipe out now. These bolts are extremely tight. The issue we're having at the moment, it's kind of hard to see, but we've got the top bolt out. That through the gap in the fuel lines there is the bottom bolt. That one's really hard to get onto at the moment, and it's super tight from the expansion and contraction of the exhaust when it gets hot and cold every time you start it and turn the car off.
After what seems like an eternity, we finally get the EGR pipe off. When you take this off, you just got to be careful to make sure that you don't lose that steel gasket, which you can see falling on the floor here as I drop it. The good news is the gasket hit the ground, it didn't get lost in the car somewhere. From this step, we move on to removing the bolts holding the intake manifold onto the head.
We've got quite an assortment of bolts. Yes, that's different lengths. When you do this for your Hyundai iLoad, it would be a good idea to keep track of where each of these came from. So I got all the bolts out except for two more that are making it a bit tricky. Zoom in, you can see them both down there. There's a stud and a bolt that we're just going to take out next. You can see the extent of the leaks and the carbon build-up under there for sure. So we're going to take the old gasket out now if we can get it out. It seems pretty in there. Wow,
Plastic in it.
that's rather perished. This is supposed to be ductile rubber. You can see how it's breaking apart. It's just over time the rubber gets hard and loses its ability to seal. Because this is a rubber gasket, the surface is in pretty good condition underneath all that oil. Just going to give it a wipe down and clean up with a rag, and should be right to put it back on. It should seal quite well. Right, that's the finished surface. It's about as clean as it needs to be to work. We'll go ahead and get this intake manifold back on. Alright, with that, all those bolts back in, which were rather tricky to do, it's basically a reversal of removal now, so we'll put it all back together and we won't make you watch it all again. Sorry about that, people. My memory filled up on my memory card, so I had to go and remove some footage, but we're all done now. Electric's back together, the charge pipe's back on. After that's all gone back together, we've got one leftover bolt. We're just going to have a quick look and see if we can see where we've left it. Hopefully we don't have to take too much of this back apart again. Okay, we've got it all back together now. We found out where the last bolt went. It's hiding down underneath here. So with that, we're all finished. It's all back together and ready to go. Thanks so much for watching this one. We're trying to improve the channel, so any feedback you've got, just leave a comment for us. We'll read them all. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next video.